All right.
All right, it's time. We need some coffee.
Go on, little buddy, get on over there.
Woo! Boop. Beep. Boop. Boop. Oh, just a little bit. Oh, come on. Oh.
Oh, mama. Now that we've had our coffee, it's time for the stream to begin. Good morning, IronAge. Grab your pens, grab your brushes, let's get creative. Woo! Howdy, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight is IronAge Legends number 3. And who else to have on this wonderful show other than the legendary Michael Harris? Right there. Haha, there you go. Oh, yeah, you did get a cool hat. There you go.
Yeah, you had a cool hat, so I was like, dude, I need a cool hat too.
Oh, yeah. No, you see people's drip, you're like, oh, man, I got to match that at least a little bit.
Yeah, pretty much.
So thank you, sir, so much for hopping on. I appreciate it. How's everybody in the chat doing? We got number 1, Raven Nevermore. Then Brian McCoppin, A.S. Brunert. You double dipping, of course. We got Readout Productions. This might be worth a show. Woo! There we go. This is evening, Raven, but oh, actually, what is it morning for you still or no?
It's 11 o'clock here in the morning.
Okay, so yeah, it is morning. Yeah, I was just trying to be inclusive, man. It's cool. Oh, yeah. Readout, you traitor. How dare you? Harris's hat better than it is a nice hat. And you could wear that out in public without shame. I wear this in public, but I am shamed. So, there's that.
I'm not ashamed with that, man. That's a cool pirate hat.
Oh, it's fun, man. My dad used to use this for boating, but we don't boat during the winter, so here I am. And IronAge.media with Richard. Thank you, sir, for coming on by. Now, today I am talking to Michael Harris. He has his own little, he makes music, and he puts it out on Bandcamp. I'll just present this real quick over here. Share screen. Blah, 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 blah. Aha, there we go. Ding dong. There we go. Yep, we have Falling Through the Storms, Lo-Fi Lullabies, Below the Sky, Above the Waves, It Ain't a Miami Night, but It's Something, and Entering Cryosleep. That's so dope, dude. I love that name. So
I did too. That's why I used it.
No, it's fantastic, man. So, with music, how long have you been putting together and making music, man?
Let's see. Something like 15 years.
Wow,
but I only started my Bandcamp like a year or two ago.
Okay, tell me if this. Everybody, tell me if this is too loud. I figured give a little taste of it while we're talking. But yeah, no, man, that 15 years. How did you learn? Did you just kind of pick it up and start messing around, or did you have someone kind of teach you and show you the ropes, so to say?
No, just picked it up and messed it around. Basically, I just was like, oh, I can make music on GarageBand, and that's what I've done ever since. Just
Oh, wait, you
GarageBand
did this
stuff.
on GarageBand?
Yeah,
Whoa, I
all my
have that app.
music
I made a
is
crappy little intro,
GarageBand
and
only.
I use it occasionally, but ever since Evele made that one for me, I've been just using that one.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that's
a good
cool.
one.
Yeah, we got a
Yeah,
little
this
by
album
lullaby.
I
There's a
made
lot of
for
songs.
my baby when he was born.
Oh,
He's a
that's
big
cool,
chunker.
dude. That's sick.
He's only 9 months, but he's already like 25 pounds almost.
Oh, wow. That's how that
And he's
goes, man.
already
Like
like
my
2 foot
second
long.
kid, he's big too, but not like my first one. He was always 100 to 100 and like 10th percentile on everything. And my
Nice.
second, it was only his head. Everything else was small.
Yeah. The doctors were like, because my wife's Chinese, they were
Yeah.
like, your baby's head is big, and they were like a little worried. And then another
Oh,
doctor was like, your husband's a foreigner. Those other doctors are idiots. Don't listen to them.
well, like, I mean, most of the Chinese or Japanese people that I've encountered, especially like in Hawaii, where I'd run into them most often, they're very petite, on average, very petite people. And so, of course, like a friend of mine, she was like, "Yeah, all the babies in my family were like 5 to 6 pounds when they were born, and that was pretty normal for their family. In my family, it's like my firstborn was like 8, 9 pounds, and then my second was 7 or 8 pounds, and somewhere in there. But yeah, but yeah.
Hmm.
Speaking of which, how is your little one? That's fantastic, by the way.
He's doing good. He he's starting to not talk because like we're teaching him Chinese and English at the same time, but
It's
he's
hard,
making a
man. Some
lot
kids
of
take to it really well.
yeah. He understands a lot. Lately he thinks the word fart is really funny. So every time somebody
Truth,
farts or
truth be
say,
told,
"Did
he's
you
not
fart?"
wrong, but
I don't know. He's a man after my own heart.
good man, good man. That's fantastic, bro. So first, we got your music, and then you have written a lot. A lot of the people I've talked to, a lot of even the like. So for my episode 1, I had the Lord Otter with his debut novel, very good book.
Hmm.
Curse of the Star Wraiths, and then I had MD Boncher. He has 2 series. Altogether, truth be told, I think you actually have written more than either of them. If I'll just share your Amazon page right here. Guys, check this out. We have a total of 9 titles. We have Sleeper Agent, Sherlock Hamster, Terminal, Red Skies, Cold War, Echoes of Memory, The Name of Magic, and Unexpected and Adventure. Or An
Hmm.
Unexpected Adventure. I read that wrong.
Yeah.
That's fantastic, though, man.
Yep.
Yo,
That
Paraxis
one comes
Press.
out
What's up,
on
Katie? Thanks for
Sunday.
coming.
Yeah, An Unexpected Adventure will be coming out on Sunday, so I'm excited.
Ooh, guys, you hear that? This book's about to come out. You guys can get on the front door of this one. This is gonna be fantastic. I love that cover too. If I can just see if I can
Mm.
bring that up a little bit. Look at that. Look at this cover, man. That's
Cool
like I
thing
remember you were
is,
like you're talking to everybody, showing like as you kind of worked on it. I was like, this came together really well, man. Look at that. That is
thank
pretty,
you.
and also it's yellow. It's an underutilized color, especially in the book world, in my opinion.
Mm. Yeah, no, the setting for the story is a very strange, fantastical place. So I I have an account on Deposit Photos, and I just found that artwork and I was like, dude, this is perfect because it fits the story almost exactly. So I was just like, I'm just gonna use this one, and then
Well,
just threw together the cover in Canva.
that's so cool, dude. Like I have very little artistic talent in that kind of way, but it's cool to see that like people like you have an alternate as to like paying thousands of dollars to get a really nice cover. You're able to put together
Mm,
something like this, and it just makes sense for you. It's really really cool.
yeah, my goal is to be able to actually like start selling book covers by the end of the year. I just got a new program and I'm learning that.
Sweet, dude. So, of your books that you have on this list, the one I have and have read is Terminal. And I'll just read a quick wee portion of that. I'll see if I can bring up the cover for that one, actually. Where to go? Haha, here it is. And we'll just go like this. Control.
Neato.
Oh, let me see. We'll go like this, like this. Like this. Maybe a little bit smaller. A little bit smaller. There we go. A little better.
Yeah, you can see most of it now.
That's fair. That's fair. Go like this. Turn on the light real quick. Monique waved him off as she turned and walked away. You're going to be in good hands, Ezra. So, what's your name? Were the first words out of Whit's mouth. Mine's Whitaker, and yes, that's my first name, not my surname. It wasn't so uncommon when I was a child, and it's no stranger than these Deontays and Angeliques, Nikonzen that were popping up everywhere. I smiled at him, not sure how to respond. Your name? My name's Ezra. Ezra Mark. That's nearly as strange as mine. The friendly older man said, it's like you got two first names. Yeah, I get that a lot, I told him. Everyone laughs about it. What makes it so much worse is that my middle name is Lee. And then everyone really says that I got three first names and my family forgot to give me a surname. It is kind of funny. Kind of like my parents naming me Whitaker. I lied about it being normal when I was born. It wasn't. They thought it would be fashionable. And I've never met another man with the same name. Well, if we're trying to see who has the strangest name, then I think that my Chinese name. Yeah, I'm half Chinese. I answered the unspoken question. My Chinese name takes the cake. It's a strange one. Now, entire country of China, forgive me. Bai Yuan Dao. Yeah, I've never met anyone else with that name. My parents wanted to give me a unique name in Chinese, and they succeeded. I get way more strange looks for that one than the other Chinese folk than I do for my three given names name. Whitaker laughed. Yep, looks like you win. I give up. I smiled at him. I liked the older man. I was so caught up in talking to him, I didn't realize we'd arrived at our room. Here we are, he said when we stopped. The last room you'll ever know. Or, it is if God doesn't grant us a miracle. I still have my fingers crossed he'll figure out what's wrong with us sooner or later. I looked around the place. It was small, with two beds set on either side of the room. Whitaker's on the right side with a bunch of pictures that I assumed to be his family, hanging on the wall next to it. There was an old black and white photo of a beautiful woman on the end table, next to his bedside. Who's that? That old gal, he said. She was my wife for many years. Died a few years back. But I know she'd want me to be happy, and that's why I try to lighten the day of all the lovely lady doctors who treat us. I wondered what it would be like, being the person to lose someone so close. I'd lost Josh to suicide, but we hadn't been close for about a year and a half before he died. What would it be like losing the love of your life? How would it feel to have someone so close to you die like that? I didn't want to imagine it. But despite myself, my thoughts drifted to Crystal. She had been told about what happened to me. Did she even know that I was gone? Would there be a picture of me by her bedside for the rest of her life? Or would I just be the background on her phone for a couple of months before another boy caught her eye? Honestly, I didn't know what was better. I hated that I wanted her with all my heart, and that I didn't want her to ever get over me, but I couldn't deny what I felt. Despite what my heart said, my mind wanted her to be free. I wanted her to find love after me and move on. I wanted her to find the perfect man and have beautiful kids and not look back on our flash flood of a romance with regret, but rather as a fond memory. Those two things warred inside me, and I think Whitaker read it on my face. Boom.
Boom.
There we go. Now, with this book, there were some portions I would have rather read, but for sake of spoilers, I decided to go with just a nice conversation. I think this book really strikes a good balance, and it's hard to describe. Like, it's such a terrible situation. It's not a spoiler because it's in the back of the book, and it's the very first thing that happens, but everybody in this world, when they get this disease, they get superpowers. It's like, wow, they get superpowers. That's great. Nope, not exactly. Everybody here is on their way to the grave, some sooner than others.
Yep.
And it's just like the title says, it's terminal. They haven't figured out a way to help these people in any meaningful way yet. But despite all that, this is at a facility where they gather a group of these people, and it's a very ordinary conversation between two people from two different parts, like stops along the journey of life, and they're having a really nice, simple conversation. And I figured that would be a nice little thing to illustrate with picking that little portion to read, that despite all the horrible things and the sadness that is entailed in this story, there's, very human moments caught up in that. Not even a crappy situation, not everything is sorrow. And that's something I really appreciated about that book. Also, Herman asks, what crawled up on Kahuna's head and died? Oh, well, your pride, Hedge. Anyway. But yeah, no, this is just one of your books, and I've read small little snippets of other books of your books trying to decide which book to read next. And it's hard. You have such a wide kind of swath of styles and things you like to write. And I think everything that I've read has been unique in both tone and kind of storytelling. So how did
that's
you get started, man?
problem for marketing, but I just write what I want to write. So
that's
it would be nice
man.
if I had like a universe, but yeah, just got to write the cool stories that come to my mind.
And that's fantastic, man. Because and that's like some of us, like, it's not always it's not the smart thing to do. It's like you should market your thing, you should do the same thing and have people know you for that thing. But it's kind of how I treat my YouTube channel. I don't just do what the algorithm wants. Truth be told, because of where my channel got success early on was with the Hawaiian like disaster and fire stuff. If I wanted to be successful, I could just cover disaster stuff, human stories of that, and talk about Hawaii, and my channel would probably grow quite a bit. But that was very personal to me, and it was something that I had to cover because I was there and I had to deal with that stuff. And I wanted to kind of keep people back home informed as to what was going on. So, but I can't talk about that all the time, and it's soul sucking. So I, like you, I do what I want. And maybe that hinders my growth, but I think it's a more genuine practice, especially of people in the Iron Age.
Yeah. And I think for you and I also kind of doing what we want and like being so free to do such varying genres is kind of becomes your trademark almost.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And so with your stories, because they're so different, what usually is the initial kind of seed of inspiration? Like, do you see an image in your head? Do you just like look at a story and think, what if it was like this, and then try to do that? Where do all these kind of story seeds come from or originate?
Well, kind of unique thing about me is I actually don't have a visual imagination.
You've talked about this before. I was no, you've talked about this before a little bit on Royce's channel actually. Drink with Crazy for anyone who isn't in the know on that. But yeah, no, so you don't have a visual imagination. So
nope.
yeah, no, that's a very tricky thing as a storyteller. I'm sure some people would see it as a disadvantage, but there's nothing in your writing that would indicate to me that's something you struggle with or something you aren't able to kind of participate in, like in your head anyway.
Yeah, I think if you look closely, you might notice that I'm pretty spare on details about like the backgrounds and whatnot. So there's a little
You're
bit less
spare, but
visual.
not all stories
Yeah.
go dive into those kind of details. It depends on how atmospheric your writing is. Your writing is very emotionally atmospheric, but not as physically atmospheric. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that does. Anyway, but like to answer your question with the like inspiration, um, it's kind of hard because think since I have so much different like so many different kinds of stories, it comes from all over the place. Like one of them, the sleeper agent stories, I just had like the name sleeper agent popped into my mind, and I was like, that would be a cool name for a story. But what if the somebody was actually spying while they were sleeping? And then that's
And
basically
there
how
you
I
go,
got
man.
those two stories. And one day I'll continue and add a couple more on novellas to it, but I have a couple other stuff that's demanding my attention first.
Sleeper
Um,
agents. Yeah, no, it's a
Let me
cool.
see.
I like it. I like the idea, but usually when like you think of sleeper agent, it just means that they're an agent and they're not aware of it. And but you see that, and you're like, what if I take that a step further? What if they were actually spying while they were asleep? And that's a very different kind of.
Yep.
Yeah, you just take the phrase and you're like, well, what if I take it a little bit further as an idea than what we already associate kind of with the name?
Yep. Exactly. I've had like a couple ones where I've had the title first and then I just kind of base the story off of a title. So like I have another one, The Name of Magic. Basically, I had an idea for a story.
This is
Uh
one I've wanted for a long time because it's honestly its cover I always considered it very striking, and the name itself, the whole thing, it really works.
Thank you.
I've always it's probably going to be in my next Amazon order. Speaking of which, I have a whole bunch of guys up here
Oh,
in the
cool.
right that I'm going to be checking out here soon. But yeah, man,
Mm,
no, I love this.
this one's also slightly more YA oriented, so
Why doesn't mean bad. It
yeah.
translates to it doesn't go dive into the details on usually the harsher elements of a story, unless you're modern Wi-Fi fantasy, which means that you're like modern YA is like really edgy,
Mm,
non-explicit, like weird stuff in the
yeah.
mainstream stuff. It's really disappointing.
I would say like mine is like I know you mentioned it before, like your favorite books, the Red Rising series. I would kind of compare this to that with like some of the darkness and brutality, but not like overly explicit in anything.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is, like, if you're gonna have kids like reading books, it's up to the individual's like discretion. And like I don't let my
Mm,
kids watch anything that I don't want them to watch. I kind of vet everything. Now whether those things are things they should watch or not, that's up to me, and that's not really up to other people. And I'm sure me and others, maybe even you and I would disagree on that, depending on the
mm,
age, or maybe not. Who knows? But I know that me and
yeah,
my family we've had discussions about that. They're like a lot of the stuff is violent. I'm like, but it's positive violence. It's people taking responsibility and using what they can do to stop bad people. That's not bad violence, and I
yeah,
don't think that's bad for kids.
yeah. No, I agree. I think there's different kinds of violence. Like just like I mean, I'm much more spare with the details, but it's also like the same with sex, you know? Like there's positive sex and negative sex in stories, and to me the positive one is showing like a strong healthy marriage. So, you
And like
know,
there's different levels too. You could have the whole and they came out of the door like adjusting their shirt, or it all fades to black, and then like yeah, there's different like levels of detail when it comes to
yeah,
writing like
exactly.
sexual stuff into a story. And
Yeah.
I'm
For
sure
me it's
I'm sure it's kind
definitely
of
the
tough with
fade
some
to
stories
black.
to find the balance there of how much to add or how much to leave out.
Yeah. I tend to prefer the fade to black. So,
I think if it's for an adult and there's something that can be added in the story.
Yeah.
In some of my writing, I went a little bit further than that, but nothing I would say explicit or pornographic, nothing like that.
Yeah. I think
It was
like
more just like it was just in like a much clearer picture of what was happening, but not actively showing
yeah.
it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no throbbing whatevers.
And then there were 3 swords, one in each hand, and then anyway. Whatchamacallit, you ever listen to the Song of Ice and Fire books?
No.
Okay, well those are the Game of Thrones books, for any of those not
Mm,
in the know. And there's a certain scene that's very explicit in the books, and in the audiobooks you have this old man, Roy Dotrice, a legend, voicing it. And to say he gave it his all. And it was one of the funniest things I've ever heard. It's like, Peter! Anyway, but oh. But anyway,
that kind of makes
this is
me
Wyatt.
want to
Yeah.
listen to it even less.
Oh, yeah, but no, this is great, man. Oh.
Mm,
And so are
but
any of these books really connected, or are they all kind of their own one-off stories? I know that obviously the name of Magic and say like Terminal, obviously Terminal is just kind of an alt, our version of our world, or a future version
mm,
with powers and such. Then you got your kid's story too. You got Mr. Sherlock Hamster,
yep.
fairly
Uh
recent release too.
yep.
And was this your
With the
first attempt at
stories,
a kid story?
what's that?
Was this your first attempt at a kid story or a children's kind of book?
Uh yeah. So this is basically I grew up listening to the old time radio shows, like old time detective shows, like The Shadow
Oh, those are
and
good.
like
Yeah,
Johnny Dollar, Philip Marlowe, all those.
I like
So I grew up.
those really old Superman radio shows too. The ones that they eventually animated. Do you ever hear those ones?
Yeah, I listened to those too. So yeah, I grew up on a bunch of old time shows. So I just was like, you know what? It'd be cool if there was like a detective noir style for kids. So that's what Sherlock Hamster series is. And I thought it'd be funny having the main character named Sherlock, but he's more of the bumbling hard nosed detective than like the brilliant guy like Sherlock
Then the
Holmes is.
drug addled super genius with problems.
Yeah. No, he's just a hard nosed down on his luck PI.
No, like a very classic character from like a lot of noir movies and films and things of that nature. Yeah. No, I could
Exactly.
dig that.
I wanted to introduce the littles to the cool world of old school noir.
Well, that's good, man, and it's kind of a cool idea because your child is very young still, but at some point he's going to grow up and it's like, if I want to, he can read my book. He can read his own
Yep,
dad's book.
exactly.
I wonder what that
That's
would be like.
actually what
Yeah,
inspired me for my newest one, An Unexpected Adventure. I wanted to like write a story dedicated to the little dude.
there we go.
So
There
this
we go.
one's probably the most fantastical book I've written, but also in some ways it's like the fantastical stuff is just a setting for the kid growing up through really harsh circumstances.
Well,
Those
that's what fiction
circumstances.
does, isn't it? We allow it exaggerates details about people, about a world, and takes things to such an extreme that it can help teach us about ourselves a little bit.
Mm. Give
Little
me
one playing
a
around.
second. Gonna turn off the camera for a little bit.
No, that's all good.
I'll
In
be
the
back in one
meantime,
second. Sorry.
no, you're all good, man. No pressure, no pressure. You're good. Hey, old chat, how's everybody doing tonight? You like my hair? It's a new cut. I went to my old stomping grounds in downtown Tacoma, and he's like, "Hey, I'll hook you up." But yeah, man, no, he like that's something that's always impressed me. Readout. Also, I saw your list for that other thing we're gonna do later. Readout, and I liked it. Not wholly unexpected, man. I've seen a lot of people's lists today, and a lot of people are coming back to me with some of their other. I'll just tell you now. So there's going to be a live stream coming up on the channel. Not the date is not set in stone yet, but me and several other hosts are going to go over our anime 3x3, which means our top 9 favorite anime. And we're going to judge each other's taste. But not only that, we are going to look over the 3x3s of many other people in the chat and people in our community who have submitted their 3x3s for our, our desecration of their taste anyway. And so that's going to be a good old fun time. And it's funny, I'm looking through all these lists, I'm realizing, oh, and he's back.
Sorry about
Look
that. Had to
at
help the
him.
little one.
Oh, I totally get it, man. I've used to having my little ones all the time, but some life circumstances I have them a little bit less right now, so I'm trying to be as productive creatively as I can be.
Yeah, it's hard finding the time with the little ones around.
Oh, of course, man. Yeah, kids are a lot of work. Even easy kids, especially at certain ages. Yeah, my oldest, when he's being good, he's fine now. He's almost 7 years old. He's getting to that kind of easier but fun stage. My 3-year-old is
Mm.
an angel, and he's never hard for any reason. But the old one and him, they don't always get along, and then they're fighting. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm not gonna get anything done tonight. It's fine.
Yeah. Like my little dude, he's super relaxed, super calm, but yeah, he's just a big baby. So I hold him and he just wants to crawl all over me, and like I'll hold him and he'll just crawl up on my shoulder, and it's like carrying a sack of potatoes.
Oh, that's yeah. My little one's very clingy and like very physically attached that way. My oldest
Mm.
was not like that in the same way. He was a little bit different. I'd have him on my shoulders, and he'd reach down over the top and grab my eyelids and yank up like this. Not my brows, my eyelids themselves, like right here, and really just give it a yank. I'm like, uh, son, you don't understand how hard this hurts, and I hope someday you have a child just like you. But yeah, man, I love kids, man. It's a lot of so many not it's always interesting to me how many like authors who have children versus those who don't. I feel it
Mm.
adds and it can add and take away to someone's storytelling depending.
Yeah.
Like people with children are obviously in some way they're thinking long term, they're thinking of legacy, they're thinking about lessons and things they want to leave behind when they're gone and things of that nature and leave to their children. And then sometimes you get storytellers who don't have it, and so they treat their books like their children because they don't have any children. They want
Mm.
something that will outlast them. And the more
Yeah.
successful authors of that nature will succeed, for better or for
Mm.
worse. And but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I have not written a book fully since my second one was born. I've only ever written one full book, truth be told, but yeah. Oh, yeah, see, he
Nice.
has the cooler
Have you
hat,
published
guys.
it
No,
yet?
it's not even a question. But yeah, man, it's
Yeah,
fantastic.
I'm trying to get this little thing. There we go. My
Centered.
feather. Got to get it straightened.
I've given up on trying to be symmetrical. My face is not symmetrical. I got this eye split open with like 7 stitches a few years back, and yeah, never been that symmetrical, and now it's even more prominent. Like, okay, I gotta lean into the asymmetrical look. So you got like the hat tilted off the side a little bit. We'll go this way.
Yep.
They're both bad.
Yeah, for me, my nose is definitely tilted to one side. I have a funny story about that. I love practicing martial arts, and
Yeah,
I
we've talked
was
about that before. Yeah, you
yeah
were into the mixed martial arts and Muay Thai a little bit or training.
yeah like the sanda, the Chinese kickboxing. I
Yeah,
was
that's what it was
practicing
called.
one day,
I'm
and
less
we were
familiar with the name, but
sparring.
yeah,
Yeah, I was sparring with a friend, and he hit me in the nose, but it didn't bleed or anything.
it just broke
And then I was
broke the
like, it
cartilage or
hurt.
something.
Yeah, it hurt off and on for a couple months, and then I was talking to my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time, and and then I just was like video chatting with her because it was a long distance relationship. And then I looked really closely at my nose and I was like, oh, my
It's
nose
crooked.
is bent. And I didn't realize it. I was like, that's why it's been hurting off and on for the last couple months. And she was like, you need to go to the doctor. You need, and just
Doctor.
just like that. And I was like, but Rachel, tomorrow I'm gonna do some boxing with like another friend. They might be able to punch it back into place. And
It's such a guy perspective on that, man. I love it.
yeah, the funny thing is they punched it back into place. The only problem is now I have like flecks of bone like just sticking
Up
out
in
of my
here.
nose here. Yep.
Yep.
So like if I wear the wrong glasses, it'll give me a headache because it just squishes the bone into my head. So
Same here,
yeah,
man. I have to get the wide set glasses and not too pinchy in the middle here. Same reason.
yeah.
Yeah, I get never broke it
Anyway,
falling off a roof. I've fallen off a roof a bunch of times. Had people drop beams and posts on my head. All that jazz. Thinking of it,
yeah, I haven't had
I used to get in
beams
a
and
lot of
post
street fights.
dropped
I
on
never
my
got
head.
seriously hurt from a street fight though. It was always just like construction stuff that hurt me.
Yeah, I just got hurt from brothers. I
That's fair.
have a lot of brothers. Like happened twice. One of my brothers thought it would be interesting dropping like a 20-pound rock on my head. And yeah,
The first time I could forgive. Second time,
yeah.
you don't think
Like
this is interesting the
the first
second
time
time.
it was like a wedge-shaped rock. Then I had a perfect split right down my like a perfect part of blood.
Jeez, dude. My brother, he
And
fell when we were younger. He hit the edge of a concrete block, and it put a hole right here in the middle of his face, like direct center.
ooh,
And like it went through I don't know what he never went to the hospital. I don't know how he was okay. He was pretty messed up, but the parents were like, glue it? I don't know.
yeah, no, I've super glued stuff back together. Like
Yeah,
I
my
cut
dad
myself
and his
pretty bad.
all his old coworkers, they ripped off like the end of the fingers, had it hanging, slapping against the side. They just glued that sucker back on, and they're a little
I
more
haven't had that
hardcore than me, though.
bad. Yeah. No,
Where
I've
it's
just
like
had some deep cuts that I've glued back together. No, not that bad though.
we got Eric Wag. I split a Mexican boxer's nose, and somehow he let me live.
Nice.
Maybe he was just
Yeah, it's
intimidated
probably
by
like
your magnificent beard,
gringo
Eric.
is
That could
okay.
be.
Es gringo está bien.
Sí, sí, señor. Dude, it's so funny. Like I like to talk in that fake accents all the time, just funsies, all that nonsense. And then I've been
Yeah.
doing one of my characters in like a Savage Worlds like D&D kind of thing we've been doing recently. I play a white guy who's pretending to be Mexican. And so like he just sounds like every Mexican like gangster on TV in the 1990s and 19 or 2000s. It's like,
Nice.
"See, come here, hombres." Like all like it's nonsense, dude, but it's a lot of fun.
Hey man, hey, ese, ¿qué
Yeah,
pasa,
yeah,
güey?
that's it too. Hola,
Yeah.
Mauji-chan.
I,
Welcome to the madness.
I call Mexico my third home. So
Did you live there or like?
no, but like I have a lot of friends there and I went there every spring to like build houses and stuff for
Oh, like with
almost
a
11 years.
church kind of ministry kind of thing, or
Yeah, with
nice.
like a church group, and we would go down every year, and sometimes I would go down twice a year to help with other projects. So I have friends there they're like they have their own kids now, but I knew them when they were 1 year old.
That's
So, and
wild.
then my I have four brothers and a sister. So four brothers and a sister? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Number four, I'm number three. He lived in Mexico for 10 years, so
Jeez.
his wife is Mexican.
That's so cool, and
So
that actually is a good segue into the other kind of mode of discussion we're going to have here, because we want to talk about your music, your books, what you're doing creatively, what you want in the future. But also, I want to talk, like, that's one thing I like to do with the Iron Age Legends is I like to have a topic of conversation that goes beyond just our projects or what you're doing, what I'm doing, but
Hmm.
into kind of the broader spectrum of creation in general. And so I wanted to take advantage because you live in a place that not a lot of people I know have lived in. I only know one other person who wasn't born there who lived in China for any period of time. And so
Hmm.
how different cultures affect storytelling and the act of storytelling and how they can influence the way we tell stories and the things we put in stories. And I wanted to ask how the different places and cultures you've been exposed to and where you've lived in your life, how that's affected your method of storytelling and the things that you choose to put in your stories. And also like other media things that you enjoy, like how the culture affected those things as well. It's not just your stuff, it's kind of whatever you want. But
Hmm.
yeah, free reign, go ahead.
Let's see. That's There's a lot of questions in that question, if that makes sense.
There there is. How about I'll simplify it. How has living in China influenced your storytelling? How about that?
Hmm. Um, Honestly, I'm not too sure. Like, because I grew up telling stories. I think it's just kind of like the setting in some of the setting in some of my books, and also just some of the cultural values. I like. I kind of have a mixture of Chinese and
Kind of the
American
East and
cultural
West
values.
kind of mix
Yeah.
in the. I noticed that even in Terminal actually because he's Chinese American and so like some things about him are very Chinese, but it's like but he's also very clearly American as well, and it's yeah, it's interesting how
Hmm.
the two kind of things mix in with him, and plus he's homeschooled, so I automatically connected with that. I'm like all the like awkward like homeschool like kind of things. I was like, it hurts, but that was me.
Yeah. No, I wanted. Everybody talks about representation. I was like, I want I want to write like a homeschool character because there's so few of those. And
Yeah,
so with
true
that one,
representation, right?
yeah, yeah. With that one, I just basically I wrote what I knew, and a little bit of what I didn't know because we were slightly because there were so many boys, like the social homeschool functions, like the co-ops and whatnot. We
Yeah.
skipped a lot of those because those were stupid for us boys. But
Yeah, like I frankly, I only there some of them I only went to because the girls were there, so that was my kind of thing. But yeah, like later, like maybe 10th through 12th grade, like we had I'd go to a private school one day a week, and then I'd have a homeschool co-op every Friday, and so we'd do that. And it's like I was doing college level classes. It was a great way to go, man. You only had to physically be there 2 days a week, and you had a lot of time and
mm,
freedom that way to kind of do other things, like work, like I wanted to.
yeah, yeah, but yeah, to answer your question with the how like it shapes the storytelling, um, man, I think because like I don't have like the visual and audio like imagination, it's harder for me to like process these things and see it unless I put it on the page. But I think some of it like is the how do you say that? I
like
I'm sorry,
like
I blinked on
osmosis
what
kind
it
of just
was.
because you're in contact with it, it attaches itself to your storytelling in some form or fashion, maybe when even if you're not aware of it.
Yeah, I think there's some of that also. Like, I think at least in Terminal, like one thing I wanted to get is kind of like the third culture, not just with
Mhm.
homeschooling, but also like being a mixed race kid and just like being a third culture kid in schooling and in actual culture.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I was like, there's a lot of things that, like, if you didn't grow up homeschooled, or even specifically in the way that I was or you were, and it seems there are a lot of homeschool kids who have never been to a co-op, all either too. It's a very unique kind of thing. Actually, a lot of kids did not experience growing up, so it was nice to see that kind of mix there because it was mixing things like I don't know very much about Chinese culture, and seeing some of that in the book was fun. But then seeing the familiar for me of seeing like the homeschool kid going through all this too, I'm like, I see it. I can see it. Because we don't attach ourselves specifically to culture. We attach ourselves to the human experience, and that can be experienced in a lot of different ways. And I appreciated the kind
Mm,
of different
yeah.
perspectives this book kind of leans on, because I'm not the naive young like 17, 16-year-old kid like Ezra is in this story, but I remember being that kid, and I'm not quite the old man that say Whitaker is in this story either, man, in his later years kind of trying to live out the last of his days in a way that he would consider good.
Mm,
But yeah, it's kind of interesting placing myself almost directly in the center of those two and kind of considering the different perspectives that way.
yeah. That's kind of how I felt as a writer. I mean, I didn't feel it in the moment while I was writing because I was just writing, but back on with reflection,
Yeah. You could kind of well, like that when you get like depending on what kind of writer you are, if you have like a stream of consciousness, you're not your brain is catching up to your words almost. Like it's kind of just coming out on its own almost. Like you don't or it's
Yeah,
coming out so fast you don't have time to contemplate it so much as you're just transferring it from one moment to the next.
yeah, yeah. That's definitely me. For me, it's just like I grew up telling stories, like because I have a lot of siblings, so almost every night for like 10 years, I would be telling my siblings stories. We would be, we live right next to a public school, and
Hmm.
I'd tell stories about them taking over the school, terrorists taking over the school, and we had to fight the terrorists, things like that.
Oh, such a I
All
love
that
it, man.
fun
It's
stuff.
yeah, I love that, man. That's great. I was like me and my friends. Except with my friends, we kind of got more physical about it too. It's like, hey, yeah, we've talked about like all these cool stories. Now let's go out into the woods and act them out and beat the crap out of each other with sticks. Play Lord of the Rings, and then break Zach's arm, and they have to tell Zach's mom we broke his arm, and that it was a total accident. Crap, oops. But
Yeah, I didn't we didn't break any arms as far as I know, but yeah, I've I've definitely had some interesting stuff like that. Like I mentioned, I love doing martial arts, and the day after I got my no, not the day after, the day of getting my wisdom teeth removed, I decided it would be fun to spar my brother. And my youngest brother, like, he doesn't regularly practice martial arts, but he's like super gifted. He moves like Bruce Lee just naturally.
he
And
just has a
so,
sense of his body that's uncanny.
yeah. So I was sparring him, and yeah, he elbowed me right in the jaw the same day I got my wisdom teeth removed.
Bro. Oh,
Thankfully,
that
thankfully I
had
was fine, and yeah.
your vision go black for a second, or were you okay?
No, I was completely fine. My face was already halfway numb from still halfway numb from the medicines.
You're
And
I'm not stuck
yeah,
in here with you. You're stuck in here with me.
exactly. And that same brother also fractured my shin once, but thankfully it was just a hairline fracture.
I'm scared to put my shins underneath a X-ray. I have holes. I can feel them in my shins from getting hit by posts and cars and a truck and that one rock that one time and a few other things. My shins are just like they're just valleys and mountains, man. It's rough.
Mm. They're probably like super strong though. That's like how you get strong bones. You get micro fractures and breaks, and then it
Bring
just
them back, yeah.
calcifies.
Well, it's like you look at some like I've seen some guys who practice bare knuckle all the time. It's like they're just solid on their knuckles here, 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 and sometimes even the third one, but usually at least the first two. It's like solid here and solid here,
Mm.
and it's like,
Yeah, you
yeah,
can tell which hand I punch with more. Let's see. Oh, no, no.
what?
Well,
Maybe it's
maybe
just
you
a
can't.
perspective, but your left hand looks very pointy, and so
Yeah, this is my less punchy hand. This is my more punchy hand.
a little more rounded. Yeah, no, that's
Yep.
good, man. And it was like like in my for me, it's like whether I wanted to or not, like the fact that I was born in Hawaii and I have so much Hawaiian family and being Hawaiian, it's influenced almost everything about me in some form or fashion, and that includes my storytelling. A lot of my stories either take place from there, or I'll borrow something from ancient Polynesian cultures, whether it's Hawaiian or
Mm.
Tongan, Samoan. Even the Maori have a lot of interesting cultural things and historical things to borrow from in terms of storytelling. Like there's a
Yeah.
short story I've been working on for a little bit. It's a sci-fi horror, based kind of on the oh, what is it? You know the Robert E. Howard story about the underground people, like the kind of the smaller people. Like there's a
Is that the one where like this they're on a spaceship but they don't know it?
no, that's also a good story, but not the one I'm thinking of. But it's like
Okay, then
basically
I
it
didn't
implies
know
that
the one you're
there was this
talking about.
cult like subculture of humans that were these tiny little people, and they were subterranean. They lived underground. And then at one point, this guy's sister gets attacked, and then all of a sudden, the fury of his ancestors who like fought them in the ancient past comes out, and he fights them, and basically forces them to retreat back to their subterranean lair. But I basically wanted to write my own version of that, so it's like in a sci-fi future where Hawaii has been turned into like almost like an Indian reservation and gambling. It's basically become
Hmm.
the world's new Las Vegas. It's pretty bad, and
Oh,
it
nice.
speaks to a genuine fear of people who live there. It's like, and people who like have any affinity for it. It's like, if you give them the same freedom that you have given like the Native Americans, like in their own space, it will become the new Las Vegas someday. And
Yeah.
I would hate to see that happen.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Like I've noticed some themes through my writing, like speaking of cultural influence, like one thing I noticed like in my Name of Magic book in that series, there's like it's influenced by China, but in some ways it's less traditional China, more modern China, because that's what I know. Because I've had
Yeah,
some
yeah.
like traditional Chinese people, they were like, "Oh, this isn't like traditional at all." And I was like, "Okay, fair."
But it's still cool,
But
right?
yeah,
There's a bit of the rule of cool thing going on too. Yeah.
yeah, there's a rule of cool, but also I'm like, yeah, like thinking about it, they're right, but also I'm like, it is modern China though. It is
Yeah.
definitely influenced by modern China
Well,
and
it's like
mainland China because they're not mainland Chinese, the people who are telling me that. So
you're like, interesting. Anyway, it's like in
yeah,
Hawaii,
no,
it's the same.
there's
Yeah,
yeah, there's some stuff I'll definitely take for the second book. Some of the stuff they said, I'm like, yeah, if you read the whole book, that would be addressed later. But yeah, one of the things though, like with that, how you were asking how culture influences is in some of my books, in a lot of my books, whether the government is good or bad, there's always the idea of consequences. But this one, like the government is, it's just is. It's like the institution and it's not even an afterthought. And that's kind of like that is very much Chinese uh idea is like Asian cultures are much more collective and
yeah,
like
a lot less individual in some ways. Not
yeah.
yeah, for the group, not for the person, kind of thing.
Yeah, kind of for the group. And yeah, it's just like they're very much utilitarian, and as long as as most people are healthy and happy, will suffer well because like we'd rather everybody like have the majority healthy and happy and some people suffer than go out of our way to fix things for the minority and let the majority suffer because of it. And that's why you still see you know the leadership here in China. Like most people they grew up being taught propaganda like everybody is, but also they generally they as long as they're healthy and well fed, they're happy
Yeah.
and they're very much in support of the safety that the system brings
Well, they're
because
they're they're
overall
content. They're in a system, and the danger they fear that leaving the system, whatever system that is, will have a worse result, and an irreparable result, compared to just continuing to live in whatever system they're in. That's most people in some form or fashion.
yeah, and there's definitely a lot of nationalism and just Chinese pride.
And hating the Japanese. No.
Yeah, well, that's true too.
I've never met a group of people who just on a base level hate each other as much as the Chinese and the Japanese. I've had Chinese and
um,
Japanese friends, and it's I know there's a lot of history there, and I've read actually portions of it as well, and that's sad and horrible, but it's life, how that goes.
yeah,
And
older Koreans might hate them more. That's the only thing I can think
that
of.
yeah, that's true. That's true. It's
Yeah,
like, why
it's
what
definitely funny. It's like I taught ESL here for years and years, and I had like my students, they'd be like, "Yeah, I hate the Japanese. I hate this," and then I'm like, "You're reading Naruto. All your school bags is Japanese comics and entertainment," and I just kind of laugh at them, like not meanly, but I'd be like, "Yeah, this is Japanese, right? This is Japanese." They're like, "Yeah, it's awesome, but I hate the Japanese."
it's like, I hate you for something your great grandfather probably did to one of my great grandparents a long, like 300 years ago, or even more
Yep.
recent. But you know what I'm saying. It's like, you read about certain things, and it's like it goes back thousands of years, truth be told. So it's like, I don't know. It's just got to try to live. Yeah, you never judge someone based on what their parents did, kind of thing.
Yeah. That's yeah. Like most people here in China, they're like, I don't hate actual Japanese people. We just hate their government. But and yeah, but also like every TV show, like basically there's about 1 bajillion World War II TV shows, and the Japanese are always the villains. And so you just
Was it
grow
kind
up.
of like the Russians being the villains in all the 1980s and 70s movies in America?
Basically that on steroids.
Because, like, for a while, even in modern day video games, it's always bad guys Russians. Even now in American video games, it's the same thing.
Yeah. No, it's basically that on steroids with there's about 1 bajillion movies and TV shows about World War II, and it's always the Japanese are the bad guys. So basically just you're a kid, you just play the Japanese are invading China, and that's just kind of what they do. Hey John, what's up?
Hello from not South Africa. No, hello from America. Hello from Washington.
Yeah,
Hello.
he's a cool dude. I've known him for since before I knew the Iron Age.
Oh, sweet. I was gonna say, he might be new. I don't recognize him. That's cool. Well, John,
Yeah,
welcome. How do you say that name? Pretorius?
I believe
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Sweet. Fantastic, man. Also, the AS Bruner says there was a film theory about propaganda recently. There's been film theories about about propaganda for years. We've known about propaganda for a long time. It's
Yeah.
nothing new. It's just, a different face on the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And
It's definitely interesting being in China and like seeing it all over here and then looking back to America and then I'm like, "Oh, dude, America's like super propagandized."
oh
It's
yeah,
just
yeah. It has been for a while, even since I was a kid, but it's way worse now, I think, than when I was a
yeah.
kid. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you're just because you're older, you notice it more." I'm like, I don't think so. Not this time.
Well, I would say yes and no. I wouldn't say it's less it's more propaganda now. It's just they're way worse at it now. They're
Yeah,
way more
there's no
blatant and
it's like remember like when I was growing up there was a lot of like weird messaging in movies, even kids movies that I watch especially
mm,
on certain ones looking back, but like the stories were still good and then they eventually started kind of moving away with that, which is what essentially gave birth to the Iron Age to begin with. It's like we want
yeah,
stories that focus on character and stories, not
yeah,
on some sort of message we're trying to preach at you.
yeah. We
Actually,
want
Bonsard
good
talked about
stories.
this in our interview
Mm,
pretty thoroughly. Is like even if you agree with a message, the moment you feel an author or a movie director trying to preach and propagandize you, you mentally check out. And I would agree
yeah.
with that.
No, I definitely I get that. Like I read what was it? Anne Rand's Anthem, and like it's a good book until the end, which just sucks. And you're just like, "Oh yeah, this is all just like all about the message." And yeah, like that's
Yeah,
why so
I
much
still haven't picked
Christian
up one of
art
her books.
fails.
I should read one just to sate my own curiosity one of these days. But yeah, no, she talked about
Yeah,
culture stuff quite a bit, so it makes sense that there would be some sort of message in there somewhere.
yeah. I think that's why like a lot of Christian art fails is because it's about the message and it's trying to force a story into the message rather than letting the message flow through the story.
I almost feel like if you're trying to tell get have a message in your story that blatant and that strong, you're not really telling a story at that point, or the story is just
Yeah.
like the wrapping paper.
Yeah,
And
you're telling a parable and probably a really bad one.
yeah, yeah, that's another live stream I've been putting together for a little while now. I'm going to have a few guests pop on, and we're going to talk about religious beliefs in stories and how to do it the right way and how to still tell effective stories while these things exist in your stories. And that's going that should be a good long discussion, one where I will feel
Mm.
like the dumbest guy in the room, and that's okay with me.
It's good being the dumbest guy in the room.
You have a lot more to learn that way. Yeah.
Yeah.
John says, also John Pretorius. That's a great name, by the way. I think that
Mm.
some people can pull off having books built around messages, but not everyone has that skill. Books like George Orwell's 1984 and Animal Farm are all about the message. And I like those books were written specifically with that reasoning, and I understand that. But the problem is that they were honest about it. There's never any question about whether it was about the message. A lot of modern books pretend that it's about that it's a story when it's actually a message. It's
Yeah.
dishonest. I think that's the main issue. But I do agree.
Yeah.
I actually haven't read 84 yet, but Animal Farm, that's a hell of a book to read if you haven't read it yet.
I read a little bit. Like, I agree with the message, but I hated his writing style. So,
See that's where audiobooks come in real handy, man. I love me a good audiobook. Actually,
me too.
like because you have trouble visualizing things, do audiobooks do it for you, or is it kind of
Mm, no, it's about the same. It's just like getting a cool story. It's, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I love stories, I love books, but I don't like see it in my head. I just like download a cool story into like my storage system, if that makes sense.
it does? But hear me out. I am the opposite of you in that
Mm,
regard. For me in my head, I don't have a dialogue. I can force myself to, but it doesn't happen on its own. I
I
just
am
I
also
see
like that.
colors. I see colors, images, and visuals. That's all I see. Like in my
Mm.
own mental landscape.
Yeah. My own mental landscape, I don't hear a thing, I don't see a thing. It's just
Whoa,
like data being processed.
bro, that's so interesting, man. Like we're both people and we have brains and we're the same creature basically, both male adults in our 30s.
Yep.
Okay, good. I've joined that club now, unfortunately, just recently, but yeah.
I'm edging my way towards getting out of it soon.
Yeah, nope. I still have that whole decade to go. Hopefully, it's better than my 20s. That's all I got to say about that.
Hmm. Jayo. But what were you there? We're talking about the message and forcing that into books.
Yeah. That topic's come up with I think at least you and Boncher for sure. I don't know if it came up with Otter or not, but it's kind of been a topic of conversation recently. I think
Yeah,
partially
I
because a lot
think.
of us in this kind of community and space are Christians, or at least have similar, like at least have parallel
Yeah,
values to Christianity, even if we don't believe ourselves.
yeah,
And so we've seen we've what we're seeing now is that the kind of political powers that be, especially in the West, that are pushing certain messaging, especially in mainstream entertainment, they're the same as the really pushy Christians of the 2000s and 1990s. It's
yeah.
like
I
message
would.
before story
Yeah.
in the art of storytelling, and that's such a mistake. It's like I
Mm,
like don't get me wrong, I like movies like oh, what was it? Men of Courage. I like that movie a lot. That's definitely
mm,
a it's definitely a message more than a movie, but I appreciate it for what it is, but it's not the same thing as, I don't know, say Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings has Christian ideas bred into it from the very beginning, kneaded into the dough of that universe. And it's
yeah,
not talked about so explicitly, but it's there if you look for it.
yeah. I think Bruner in the chat said that Tolkien is like the best Christian author, something like that. And I think Tolkien's way of going about it is there's definitely different ways he can go about it, but I would say for the general populace, go about it Tolkien's way of where the message is implicit rather than explicit, where like this is what it's built on. Like it's built on goodness, it's built on providence, it's built
Yeah,
on
there is
playfulness.
good, there is evil, and good will triumph over evil. And
Mm,
also the idea that evil is not just inherent in some ways, but evil is the corruption of something that was once good. That's a theme in his
yeah.
books too, and I think that really translates very powerfully. Other people, even
Mm,
in the Iron Age, I think have captured that in their writing very effectively. Like Herman P. Hunter with the his books,
mm,
The Wizard's Stone and the Revenant and the Tomb. That's what it's called. But
yeah.
yeah, no, there have been a few people who have done that really, really well. Even in your
Mm,
book, Terminal, he's Christian. They even talk about it. It doesn't. I don't think it rides the line of pushing message. It doesn't really do that, in my opinion. I think you did a really great job of having a character that is a Christian, but it's not about him being a Christian, if you know what I mean.
thank you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. I didn't want it to be like pushy, but I'm also like, what would like a nominal teen Christian dude like? What would his journey be if he got
What
superpowers
would he
and
be
he's dying?
thinking? What would he pray? What would he talk about? What would he think? And I'm like, You got it, man, because like that awkward like homeschooled teenage like Christian teenager thing, it's in there, and that was me. That was me when I was a kid, man. I feel it.
Mm,
And
yeah,
yeah, again, I
that was
don't
me
think
too.
it doesn't push the line of message before story. It definitely has its own story to tell, and yeah, no, I thought it did a very good job. So
Yeah.
here's something I haven't done, and you have so many books. I think you can actually do this. So based on what you know about me and my taste, I'll bring up that page again. Let's see. What kind of which of your books would you recommend to me that I like if you had to pick one book of yours for me to read next based on what I kind of like and who I am. What book would you recommend?
So I know you like Red Rising. What's another, like, give me two more, give me like maybe two more series or books you really enjoy.
There's a lot. I read like 109 books 2 years ago and read about 90 this last year.
Nice.
I love the Stormlight Archive. I love Robert
Hmm.
E. Howard and Solomon Kane stories. Yeah, those are
Hmm.
two kind of different, like still fantasy examples. I really enjoy those. And I do read a variety, but I mostly read fantasy and sci-fi.
So I would probably say either Echoes of Memory or The Name of Magic. Those
They both
those two
sound
I
really
feel would
cool.
be
Yeah.
up your alley the most.
Yeah, look, that cover is cool too. It's just a cool guy with a sword. You know,
Hmm.
it works. I don't know why this still works. It's like very Assassin's Creed kind of thing for me a little bit. I doubt that was your intention, but it's like the posing and kind of outfit. It kind of reminds me of
Hmm.
that a little bit. But if you can't trust your memories, what can you trust? This question gnaws at Eris Ravencroft. After foreign memories invade his mind and nearly get him killed during an assassination attempt on the Emperor, a hero beloved by all, a hero he's sworn to protect. Kestrel, a street-smart orphan, also finds his mind filled with memories that aren't his. Memories that say his world is nothing like it seems. Now the duo must make sense of the alien memories while unraveling the mystery of the Emperor's true colors, while dodging attempts on their lives by the mysterious inquisitors, crooked politicians, and a host of dangers in a world where the greatest enemy is the biggest hero. Yeah, man. Yeah, I think that's it for me. F it.
All
Let's see.
right.
We'll go
Sounds
here.
good.
There we go. Haha. That's something. I've always wanted to do that on a stream. I thought that would be fun.
Heck yes.
And also because like this is proof that it's actually working. It's like customers who bought this also bought Watcher the Damned. All like I don't know them. I recognize that, but
The Black
Black
Crown.
Crown by John A.
Yeah, I know that
Douglas,
one.
Chuck Dixon's Conan, Dan the
Uh,
Destructor, and Noah Primeval. I've heard of that before too. But like that's why this whole Iron Age thing is working, man. Like even Amazon is like recommending books of a similar kind of genre, and like it is working. It's really fantastic, man.
nice.
Love that.
Dude,
Let me see.
thanks.
Absolutely, brother. Let me get back to there we go. Looking at that. There we go. Also, Animation
Mm.
Overload says, "Hail, I can't stay tonight. Catch you later." Thank you for stopping by, man. God bless you. Also, guys, if the show is good, or even if it's not good, and you just want to, give a guy some pity, hit that like button, hit subscribe. I'd really
Mm.
appreciate it. And don't forget,
Give
guys, I'll
super
post the links
chats.
again
I
later.
don't
But
think you can, but
Michael Harris, he has his Bandcamp with all of his music over here. He also has the Amazon with 9 different books. It's a
mm,
heck of a portfolio for someone only a little bit older than me, man. I salute you. That's fantastic.
thank you. Yeah, that's one of the things, like, I know a lot of people say I'm like, ah, yeah. A lot of people say, they'll get writer's block and they'll they won't know what to write. Oh, awesome. Thanks, John. Anyway, yeah, so but for me, my general thing is you don't have writer's block, you just aren't writing enough. If
I agree with
you
that because
Yeah.
it's not. I heard one person once say, "I'm out of ideas." I'm like, "What? You're out of ideas?" There's a lot of reasons
Mm,
I sometimes don't write. Like I'm busy. I'm trying to do too many things. I don't have enough time to focus on it. But I'm never out of ideas. I have ideas for
yeah.
days in here, years.
For me for me, like, even though I'm usually pretty placid because, don't have the visual, don't have the audio. in my mind. Like I feel like I don't have any ideas, but when I start writing, they come to me because creativity is a skill that can be grown and can be built.
Absolutely, man.
So like I also do like I also draw and paint and like teach art class. Uh
Oh, do you have
and
anything you might like in your house you could share with us, or just
uh yeah, I can find something in just a second. My
yeah, no, that
Twitter, my
I didn't know that
Twitter
about you. That's really cool, man.
profile picture and my gilded profile picture. That's a drawing I did of myself.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. I was wondering where that came from. That's really cool, man.
Yeah. So, but like just like with writing, the more you draw, the better you get. The more you write, the better you get, and you can
Also,
basically
the
you're
act
the
of
more
creation is a boon to creativity.
yes,
If you just start writing, a lot of things will like kind of click into place or connect in the brain space here, in my opinion.
yeah, exactly. And I know some people, they're like, if you don't know what to write and you don't have ideas, just sit down at the computer and write. I don't know what to write until you get sick of it. And then your brain will be like, okay, now I'm just going to make up some crap because I'm sick of writing this.
Yeah,
Howdy,
absolutely.
Timo.
Howdy, Timo.
Well, I should
Or
give you
Timo. It's
this
actually
for
Timo.
Timo.
I'm trying to get people's names right. Like Evele Music, it's not Evele, it's Evely, and he's just too nice to correct everyone. I've been calling him the
Ah,
wrong name for like a year, dude.
yeah.
Uh,
No, I think yeah, I think I also call him Evely or Evely. I don't know which I call him. I have to actually think about it
the
now.
spelling makes it look like Evele, but it is
Yeah.
Evely, so that is correct. I know his real name too, but as a joke, I usually call him like everybody in his life calls him the wrong name. He just has a face that looks like a lot of other people in their life,
Mm,
so nobody calls him by his actual name. So as a joke, I'll sometimes refer to him as like Chris or some BS like that, just because
yeah.
just
No,
messing
it's
about.
definitely I've like for me, I've grown up being the dude that they're like when friends get like my friends get introduced to me, they're like, "Oh, you're that Michael." I'm like, maybe.
What other Michael could I have
So
been? No.
I'm like, it depends. What have you heard about me? But yeah.
And also, it's interesting talking to all these different storytellers and looking at my own kind of storytelling history and such, where different people get ideas. John Pretorius says Catholic sci-fi author R.A. Lafferty's short stories. I've heard that name before. Just
I've
read
heard it.
like
I
he's
haven't
trying
read
to
it though.
amuse himself while bombarding his stories with weird ideas and twists. And that works for some people, man. Like sometimes I'll have an idea. I'm like, it'll just be two things coming together in my head that haven't connected before. It's like two different
Mm,
kind of ideas from different spots. I'm like, what if it was this, but it was done like this? Or what if these two things happen simultaneously? Stuff like that. And for me,
yeah.
sometimes, like, I know this is not the case for you, but like, I'll have an image in my head and it'll start as that. Like, I don't have names, I have nothing. I just have that picture. I'm like, what is the
Mm,
story? What led to this? What is this? Is it the beginning? Is it the end? What is it? And then me
yeah.
trying to ask questions about that kind of vision is where the story comes from. I've had a few stories like that actually.
Yeah, I've definitely had some stories like that. I have one that I'll probably hold off for another like maybe 2 or 3 or 4 years for writing this series because it requires a ton of world building, but I just had an idea. What if
No,
food what if you get magic from food and every food gives you a special ability? So, now I
that
just need to come up with a cool name for the series and
that
then
can
make
work.
a bunch of recipes.
If you've ever read Brandon Sanderson's oh, what do you call it? Why am I blanking? Mistborn. It's
Mm,
kind
yeah.
of like that, except they eat precious metals
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
food.
I think I got a bit inspired by that.
It's
Like,
a cool
my
idea.
original idea for this story was heavily Mistborn inspired, but I'm trying to make it my own.
Oh, of course, yeah. And like a lot of there, I've met a lot. Like it's kind of weird because like I feel like there's a disconnect because a lot of people in this kind of community in this space are like they're so disconnected from a lot of the mainstream. A lot of them are that they almost dismiss something just because it's mainstream. And I understand the sentiment. There's so much garbage coming out of the mainstream right now, even in books. But don't
Mm,
sleep on Sanderson, guys. The guy is he's who he is. He's the big guy for a reason right now. He's written some
mm,
amazing stories. Stories that I'll never
yeah.
forget. And
Yeah,
yeah.
no, I think The Way of Kings might be my favorite book. So,
Yeah, but
like,
when I try to think of a book that's better than it, I kind of freeze up and I don't know. Only a few names even come close. Honestly, I think maybe The Way of Kings and Words of Radiance, they're kind of tied in my head. I like the they're both just so incredible and they work really well together. And even book 3 and
mm,
4 are really good. They're just not quite to the level of book 1 and 2, I think.
yeah. I think book 1 is definitely the best, but like for me it's an easy choice for the best, but they're all really good.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well,
no, I
like without
think
spoilers, the ending of book 2, dude, is so cinematic. Like, well, again, that comes down to like picturing things in your head too, so maybe that's it. But
mm,
yeah, the ending of book 2 is
no,
so cinematic.
yeah, yeah. He definitely writes very cinematically.
Yeah, no, I agree
There's
with
it's
that.
interesting seeing different writers' styles. Like, have you ever heard of the author Ted Dekker?
Once or twice, yeah. I
Yeah.
used to read the
Like,
crap. I read everything by him when I was a kid, and like occasionally I'll reread a book. Like what was it? Heaven's Wager. I reread that book recently, just break my heart all over again. But yeah.
mm, yeah, for me it's interesting because like with Sanderson, he reads kind of like a movie, but like with Decker, he reads like his books read like movie scripts,
I kind of
if that
see
makes
that.
sense.
Yeah, I could see that. And
So
it's
when I
like
read
it,
his
yeah.
books, I'm like, oh, this is just like a movie script he's written as a book.
Yeah, no, I could see that too. And like going back to like how cultures influence kind of stories and writing. It's like interesting like where you have a story or like I'll use a weird example, The Matrix. The Matrix
Mm,
has a lot of different influences and to see them all come together in one place is what made it such a unique story because you have like
yeah,
certain aspects of like Eastern philosophy, but then like the certain aspects of kind of Western or Christianity kind of mixing in there as well. And then
yeah,
this idea of like it's a martial art movie that's also a sci-fi. It's like all of these elements combining created something so new and so unique. It was really
mm,
special, and it was like it's like we're talking about culture, but culture is a lot of different things. Like there's culture of where you live, and then there's culture of like like there's like I grew up in America. There is a Christian culture. You can be a
mm,
Christian without being part of that culture, so to say.
yeah,
But you know what I mean. Like I'm sure you met new people growing up who grew up in the Christian culture who are not to now
yes,
today not Christians.
yeah.
Yeah, very sad story
No,
actually.
I totally get what you mean. And like there's rich culture, poor culture, there's rural culture, there's like even
So
in China, like my wife's family is way different than most typical Chinese families. Like most typical Chinese families are
and why is that? Just curiosity.
uh I think some of it is just God's goodness, some of it is like uh just like they they're they were like village people, like more not poor village people, but like
More
basically,
rural, a little more farm, like out in the country kind of thing.
yeah, out in the countryside. Like her hometown is, small village of a couple hundred people. That's
Yeah.
about a 20-30 minute drive from a city of like 300,000.
Well, like that's actually a great example here because like this is maybe some people will disagree, and obviously there'll be exceptions, but I think you take someone who is like a big business person in a major Chinese city, I think he will have more in common with someone who's a big like business person in a major American city than someone from his own like in the countryside of his own country. I think there will be more overlap of similarity there.
Yeah. Also, though, like it really depends, like what part of China. I would say like Shanghai or Beijing, absolutely. Like, but
Like
maybe if you're like
I've
in
never been to a
Xi'an,
city like that. I still can't quite imagine it, truth be told. Like
yeah.
I've
I
never been to New
haven't been to
York either. Like I've
Shanghai.
been to
I've been
Seattle.
to
That's
Beijing.
Seattle's just Seattle.
Yeah.
It's not a big city.
Yeah, no, it's funny because the city I live in is about 2 million and it's considered pretty rural and backwards. So basically, where I live in, it's the equivalent to the capital city of Montana in America. I'm in the
Okay, yeah,
Montana of
I feel you.
China. There's more yaks than people, more sheep than people, hopefully more snow leopards than people.
Not
But
many snow leopards, but the thing is, you'll never see them anyway. It's fine.
yeah. No, I have a friend, he lived here for like 20 years. Like he's back in America now, actually in your area.
Oh,
But
cool.
he would
Like, how was that transition moving back?
I haven't talked to him a whole lot recently, so I don't know.
He's already gotten into the Seattle freeze. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's like right now he's a small town sheriff, I think.
Hmm. That's interesting. That's cool.
So like
Yeah.
or no, he's like in charge of like the I think the last I heard he was like a police officer and now he's like running the town's he's like running the drug crimes division or something.
Oh, okay. Well, he'll have his hands full. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
Freaking
But
original.
like he would guide scientists to find snow leopards and he would guide people to Everest Base Camp all the time.
That's cool,
So
dude. Yeah.
the cool thing is he had a lot of extra stuff. So like he gave me a jacket he wore to Everest Base Camp, and like I still have some nice hiking shoes that he had extra ones of because he would get sponsored by like hiking companies.
Yeah. Yeah. It's nice when you have someone in your life who's like, well, I'm done doing this one thing, and I don't need this stuff anymore. You seem like someone who could really use it. You're a friend of mine. Have at it.
Yep.
Get that
I
kind of
hope I can be
situation in your
that
life every
person.
now and again.
Mm, yeah. Just got to remind ourselves to be that person for somebody else as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's like I gave an old car to someone once, and I do what I can, man. Though limited resources, though I am.
Yep. I feel you, man.
Absolutely, man. So, any other anything come to mind? Anything you want to talk about in regards to storytelling, social media, your books, music, anything you want to talk about before we kind of start wrapping up here? What do you think?
Buy them. No, just kidding.
No, you got to
Well,
do the whole
not
affirmative.
kidding. I need more
Buy
money,
my
dang
book.
it.
Buy my book.
Yep.
It's
No,
gonna be.
definitely buy my books because they're awesome. But yeah, no. Well, my new book is coming out, my An Unexpected Adventure. That was a fun one to write, so I might talk about that for a wee bit.
Yeah, I'll pop over to it real quick. Echoes of Memory, Sleeper Agent, Red Skies. Hold on, gotta go back 2 pages. Haha, there we go. And this guy is coming out exactly when? Soon, very soon.
On Sunday.
This Sunday, this Sunday.
Yes, this Sunday.
Oh, we
So
got
this
we gotta
one
do
I started writing, and then I was talking to my brother, and I had some ideas, and then I wanted to make it like this epic thing where the main character was fighting all these monsters and stuff, and make it an epic adventure. But then I was realized that's done all the time. I'm just gonna and I was talking to my brother and he was like, "Yeah, that's cool, but like every book does that. you should do something where it's just like he just gets caught up over his head and has to survive and grow. I was like, you know what? You're right. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, it's like not. It's like
So,
we like reading those stories, but not everybody is a hero
mm,
in the traditional way.
yeah.
And
And this one, like, this one is, I can almost say it's one of my oldest stories I've had, only because some of the settings, like, he faces sharkophilos in the story and jelly goats, which sharkophilos and jelly goats are, I think I've had those creatures made for like 15, yeah, 15 plus years.
Sharkuffalo. It's a
So,
shark and a buffalo, right?
yep, it's a half shark, half buffalo,
That's a
and
fearsome
they live in
creature.
the Wandering Plains.
And then you
And
said
in this
jelly
world,
goat, so it's a
yeah,
jellyfish goat.
yeah, it's a jellyfish goat, but they fly. They just float in the air.
That sounds horrifying, by the way.
Yeah, they are.
Did you see
Because
the
it's
great
got all the
debate come up
brass.
on Royce's channel recently? It was Sharkuffalo versus the Centabear. That was the great
Mm,
debate recently.
yeah. I'm trying to foster that more so more people will buy my book.
It's good
But
branding, man. Good
yeah,
branding. Also,
yeah, and
Guilty has a question real quick. What animal is he riding on the cover? It looks like a big
he's
cat to me.
writing. Yep. So in the story, basically, the general idea is there's this kid named Asa Whiteacre, and he's just this little village kid, and he gets caught up in a nightmare storm, which literally picks him up and throws him halfway across the continent.
Oh,
Because
jeez.
in this world, fog is sentient. There's sentient fog creatures, and
Definitely sounds like your
nightmare
most
storms.
imaginative story so far.
Yeah. So basically, he in this world, the creator god, he there's this old mountain panther, and it's about her time to die. She's the matriarch of her clan, and he's like,
Wow.
I'm going to give you a death quest. You guide this boy home.
And
So
the cat's like, all right, hold on, let's go. Come on, kid.
yeah, pretty much. And she slaps him in the head a lot with her tail because he's a dumb 12-year-old who grows
I
up
know a
to
lot of
be
12-year-olds who need to get slapped in the head. Thinking back, 12 years old. How old would I have been? That would have been. So I was like
12.
almost fully grown when I was 12 years old. I needed to get slapped I needed to get slapped all around all the time. Oh,
Yeah,
and then
I
AS.
think for me, mm, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just AS has a very important question. What's with the title of Yeti Emperor? Well, don't you know,
Um,
AS? He lives in the land of Yetis. He is a yak
yeah,
hunter. He is the king, the emperor of the Yetis. They all bow in his domain. He's the great white hairy creature that lives in the mountains.
pretty much. Yeah, no, I live in Qinghai, China, which Qinghai, like where I live is where the Chilean, Kunlun, and one other mountain range meet. I live on the Tibetan plateau of China, so the northern part of it.
I was gonna say that's gonna be north geographically, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, oh yeah, sorry. 天呐. Anyway, oh, sorry for speaking Chinese. Anyway, yeah, so I live just Tibet is just south of me, and the province I live in, Qinghai, is classical Amdo-Tibetan kingdom because there's three main different kingdoms of Tibet.
Oh,
So,
okay.
so basically, I'm just the Yeti Emperor. Actually, exactly.
It's their mating call for those wondering. That's a direct
Yep.
translation there.
Yes.
But
Hey,
yeah, this
sexy
book, this
lady.
is an unexpected adventure by M. Anthony Harris, releasing on Sunday, which is going to be the 4th of February, guys. Guys, it's
Yep.
crazy. We're already in February, and Anthony is
Mm.
already releasing another book. It's crazy, Michael. He's already
Yeah.
releasing another book. And what age range would this be for? This is obviously kind
This
of a
one,
fantasy, but
yeah,
would you
this
say
one
middle
is an
grade or
all
young adult
ages
maybe?
one. I would say like just about middle grade. So I started reading. I'm also a fourth grade teacher here in Qinghai. So I started reading the first chapter to my students the other week, and they're like, "I want to read more." So that's how I test my books now, is
That's
reading it to my
that's
fourth
smart.
graders if it's good. Like my kids' books, I'm not going to
That's
read them
cool.
Echoes of Memory because there's a lot of torture and stuff like that. But
And then they put another bamboo shiv in underneath his thumbnail, and his screams were everlasting.
exactly. No,
Oh,
this one is like, and then he didn't listen to the mountain panther, ran to the river and dunked his head into drink, and he hit the head of a lobodile, which thought he looked like a tasty snack.
dumb
And
kids.
then and then 4 or 5 lobodiles come after him and try and eat him. And he has to survive against giant, like 18-foot crocodile lobsters.
Oh, that's what that is? Oh,
Yeah.
that is not at all what I. Also, John,
What were you thinking?
I was thinking like lava creature. Yeah, don't eat that mushroom, kid.
Yeah, actually, in
That's what kids
speaking of
are, man.
mushrooms, one of the dangers that Asa and Cayenne, that's the panther's name, one of the dangers they face is from fungmen, which are men made out of fungus. And how you become one is their spores cover you and then they just eat you and you become a fungus man.
Dislike, vehemently dislike, don't like.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it's like
I wanted
I
to
read
make it
another fantasy
strange
book
and
recently with
fantastical.
fungus men, and it was like in that one they were kind of weird, but they weren't creepy. But like on average, very very creepy. Fungus people.
Yeah. No, I think like with this one, it's just kind of a passing threat, but there's a whole bunch of dangerous things in the wilds, including fungus men that they don't mean anything bad, but they release spores and you might get turned into one of them.
There's a link for his Amazon page, everybody. Here, I'll
Thank
share
you.
a link for his Bandcamp as well. Because he
Yeah.
does fantastic work in both music and books. And I'm excited to read another book by him. He has so much to read. I'm interested to see what a more fantasy based kind of story will do for me here. Partially because
Mhm.
I am primarily read fantasy and sci-fi. And so like while there's elements of that in Terminal, it's not like it's obviously not like real world entirely, but it's like real world adjacent. You know what it reminded me of actually when I was reading it in part was that that movie where those 3 Seattle kids like got superpowers. You remember that movie? What was it called?
Oh,
Chronicle.
yeah.
Chronicle. That's what I
Yeah,
was thinking of.
Chronicle.
Yeah, I was getting.
I can
I get
see
some
that.
slight Chronicle vibes from reading Terminal. And I will say
Mhm.
the one of the ending scenes of the book, Chef's Kiss, beautiful, beautiful ending scene. Exactly what I would have
Thank
wanted from
you.
this kind of story, man. It was it was an emotional read for me. I don't think I ever wept openly, but I did get teary eyed, and I'm an
Yeah.
adult male guy in construction, so
Nice. I win.
I winner.
I think Bruner asked me to show some art, so I just found a sketchbook. This is one my nieces in Africa. They asked me to draw
A banana
a
shark.
banana shark.
It looks really good, dude. Look at that. It's great.
Yeah. Then they
Oh, that's
also
really
asked
fun,
for a
dude.
hand shark because they were on a shark kick. So let me see. Here's my hand
Oh,
shark.
I was wondering. Yeah, I was like, he either has to do like the fingers or like those have to be the tail. Yeah, that's yummy.
So yeah, couple sketches. Let me see. Here's a Tai Chi chick lady.
Very, very pretty dress. Shirt dress. I don't know what to call that, but it's nice.
Shirt. That would be like yeah. Most of what I do is just sketch faces. That's what I like doing most of the time.
Well, you have a good hand for it, man. A lot better than me. Also, John Pretorius says, "Hand shark. That's rather Lovecraftian."
Yeah. Blame my nieces.
Actually, no. If it was tentacles coming out of the mouth of a shark that was also made of hands, that's Lovecraftian, or maybe just like
Yeah.
Japanese porn. Who knows? But the line between
Yeah.
Lovecraftian and Japanese porn is a thin one sometimes, unfortunately.
Yeah,
Oh.
pretty much.
Thanks
That
for the
now I want to write a Japanese light novel. Actually, I had an idea for a story, a short story would be basically a story about Cthulhu's butler, like one of the ancient gods, and
yeah.
it's just about his butler who's just this like old redneck guy.
That would be really like we're starting to see stories like that. Someone a while back wrote a story about the guy hired like he's eternally bound. Like you know how in a video game you go into a dungeon and it has all these candles lit and like all these
Mm,
traps set. Well, the book was written from the perspective of the guy who is like tasked with maintaining that. He's like he makes sure all the draugrs are bandages are still wrapped up tightly, and he resets all the booby traps, lights all the candles, and replaces the whole. And there's a whole book written like that. It's like we're starting to get these weirder little like small character kind of stories that are kind of fun. And so yeah,
yeah,
that would be that could definitely work, especially in the like in line with that kind of trend, so to say.
yeah. I think like as a writer, sometimes it's a challenge to go smaller scale, but it also like develops your skill.
I think it's hard. I think it's harder to tell a small story well.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Like if you can
yeah,
write a small story and make it really engaging, that's how you know you're a good writer. Like
yeah.
because we naturally connect with high stakes, so
But
that's why like
I'd say once
say
you become a bit of a veteran reader, once you've read so many stories, you start to it takes more than just someone saying, "Oh, it's like what's his history? Oh, his entire village got killed before his very eyes and he swore revenge." I'm like, "I've heard this story before. I need something more than that." And I don't know who this
Mm,
person is. Why would I care at this point? It's that kind of thing. You need to care about characters in smaller kind of stories. It's all about characters. So if you can do a small story well, that's a good kind of prelude or preamble to a larger story, a larger stake story.
yeah, I think that's where so many modern stories, especially like the MCU and whatnot, that's where they fail is basically they make everything galactic. You know, first it's like a world ending thing, then it's a universe ending thing, then it's a multiverse ending thing.
Multiverse ending thing. I'm like,
Yeah.
bro, just calm down. Oh,
Yeah, it kills any stakes there are. So what you have to do as a writer, instead of going bigger and bigger, you actually have to go smaller and smaller to keep it interesting. Is maybe they save the world, but in the next story, it's just somebody's trying to kill their kid and it's somebody who's like super strong, so you have to take it down, and that's how readers keep connecting over the length of a story
or it's like you
or
have to
length
make
of
the
series.
stakes kind of individual. Like
Yeah,
Joe
make it
Abercrombie, he
personal.
has his first Law trilogy, and it's like the overall stakes. They need to prevent these evil cannibalistic kind of wizards from taking over the court of the most powerful country in the world. Immediate stakes, we are dying of thirst in the desert, and we need to solve
Mm,
this problem now. It's like you have the overall, you can have, like, that's how you can tell a big story effectively, too. You have the overall deal, but right, sometimes it's just what's right in front of you. How do you deal with that first?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, like that's what I wanted to do. One of another reasons why wrote this new book, An Unexpected Adventure, is I wanted to make a smaller stakes story. Just have it, be about a kid growing up who has to survive a really weird world where some of the trees might throw you and where there's inverted mountain ranges with lava wolves inside.
This sounds like an acid trip, and I'm here for it.
Basically, I just wanted it to be like I remember
Dark
being a
whimsy
kid
a little
and
bit.
reading stories, fantastical stories, and I was like, I want to make a fantastical story that me as like a 10-year-old would be like, that's so awesome. I'm gonna draw a lava wolf now.
Yes, Lava Wolf. I'm here for it, man. Better than me, man. I'm just like thinking about all the Japanese and the Hawaiian and Polynesian like horror stories and ghost stories I heard when I was younger, and I'm like, okay, yeah, so we'll have a dog that steals like infants out of their mother before they're born, and that'll be a fun little addition to the story. Oh.
Yeah, I haven't heard of that one, but I know like the Filipino aswang, which is like a vampire
There's some
that.
correlation there. It's not the same, but like there's I'm
Yeah.
like you guys have like those stories have a mixed have a similar
Mm,
bloodline
yeah.
in mythology anyway.
Mm. One thing I'm excited with this new book though is for the print edition, there's like 20 extra blank pages that I made a creaturepedia for kids so they can make their own. You can add your own fantastical animals and descriptions of them and things like that,
Oh,
or
that's
you can draw
cool.
some of the ones. You can draw some of the ones in the books because there's one of the things I like doing with world building is I just like dropping random stuff in there and just letting the reader make up what it is.
Oh, okay. Like let them
So
fill in the blank
sometimes
a little
it'll
bit
be like,
more.
what's that?
Let them fill in the blank a little bit more.
Yeah. So like in this book, there's a lot of descriptions where it's like my skin itched like there was a hive of angry glorblings crawling around in it, and I want the reader to make up what the glorbling is themselves.
Also, AS Bruno says the creature names remind me of the Feather Saga. Not familiar with that
Mm.
one, so man, I don't know if you are either.
I was heavily inspired by the Wing Feather Saga, and I had to force myself not to make this into Wing Feather Saga clone.
Yeah, good catch, AS. Good catch. I
Mm.
love when someone like
Yeah,
sees something they recognize and they know instantly, like, I know what this is inspired by a little bit at least.
yeah. No, this is. I basically it started as a Wing Feather Saga clone book, and then I was like, no, I got to make this into my own story. But I wanted to make something that like I Wing Feather Saga is this children's quadrology of books, but it's like one of the best fantasy story series I've read in years. So
Nice,
even though
nice.
it's middle grade, it's better than like 90, probably like 95% of all fantasy I've read.
No,
So
I'd agree with that. Like, if you get a story that's really truly good, even if it's middle grade, it should still be enjoyable. Like The Hobbit, I love that book. One of my faves. Love that book. Always
yeah.
have. And truth be told, I
So
don't like the story as much, but I like reading it more than Lord of the Rings.
mm,
It's much more digestible. It just kind of flows a little bit easier. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this book is definitely inspired by Wing Feather Saga. I wanted to kind of make my own version, but not have it just be a cheap ripoff, but have the world be fantastical and fun like Wing Feather Saga.
Well, he's on a giant panther. It's 129 pages, and it's coming out this Sunday on February 4th. Guys, don't
Mm,
miss out on this. It's going to be cool.
yeah, it's 100 or no, 30 30,000 words. So,
Oh, so like a
and then
novella
like,
kind of length, actually.
yeah, basically novella length, but it's written for all ages, like middle grade, so it's kind of like a full length novel for middle grade.
Well, it's
Almost,
like
not quite, but
my oldest is not quite reading on his own yet. Just not he's just not quite there yet with it. He's getting close to reading like real books. But like I read Redwall, the first 3 books of that to him. I
nice.
read Bunnicula. He loved that book. I thought I liked that book too. It was a lot of fun.
I haven't read that one yet.
It's kind of old now. It's been around for a while, but it's like it was surprisingly funny. It's written from the perspective of a house cat and a big dog that lives in the same house, and it's like they communicate with one another, and the cat's into the like occult, and when this bunny is a vampire, it sucks all the juice out of like vegetables instead of like blood out of people. And it's like, yeah, I read the book. It said here you have to put a stake through his heart, so he has like a cow steak from the fridge and is like punching it into the rabbit. It's hysterical, dude. But
Nice.
always keeping an eye out for a good kid story, and this may be one I need to check out, especially for my little ones. Yeah.
If you have Kindle, I can send you a ebook copy.
Oh no, I have Kindle, but it's not a thing, man. I'm here because I want to support the IronAge. I want to support creators like you who create all these wonderful stories for us to enjoy. And while I appreciate the gesture, it would mean a lot more to me if you let me support you that way.
I will then. Thanks.
Absolutely, man. But all right, guys, this has been episode 3 of you gotta do this right. Do this right.
IronAge Legends! Now!
I gotta try my best Kahuna Woo. Woo!
There
That
you
wasn't my
go.
best. Sorry.
Also, still better than Royce.
Take that, Royce.
That's right, Royce. Your woo is pathetic, and you claim you to be a singer. Anyway.
Wait,
And-
I gotta do a better one. Let me channel my kahunas. Woo!
Better.
That's a little better.
For those curious, it's mostly a meme, but I am putting out a video, a woo tutorial on YouTube here soon, so
Nice.
you can look forward to that one. But thank you all for being here. Thank you, John, AS, Guilty, and everyone else who's able to stop by earlier. It means the world to me. I really appreciate you
Means the
guys. You
world
guys
to
make
me
this
too.
show more fun and more enjoyable. And you guys ask questions when my brain stops working. It's a lifesaver. But truly, thank you everyone for coming. I appreciate it. Michael, you've been an incredible guest. Thank you, man.
Thank you. You've been a great host.
Now I'm gonna move this back for the safety of all eardrums everywhere.
All right.
Woo! Ow! Peace out, guys.
All right.